he calls the sham that is the interview process that the New England Patriots are going through. I guess if you're somebody who believes they have their sights set on Mike Vrabel or a deal is already done.
Was it a sham that they didn't interview? Did Burt Breer complain when Gerard Mayo was hired?
I don't think so.
And they didn't interview a single candidate.
No.
And they hired Gerard Mayo. I don't recall Burt Breer going on that soapbox and a diatribe against the organization for not having a real, thorough coaching search.
I look at it like this. You're the owner of an NFL team. You should be able to hire whoever the hell you want. If you want to hire your best friend.
Do you feel like that applies to any business?
Yeah, any business. I don't care. You want to hire your best friend who has no experience, then that's on you because, maybe it'll show because the person's not qualified enough or, it'll just it might hurt your business more than anything else. You want to hire your kid, you can do that. You own a team, you own a business, so be it. Who are you to tell me who I need to hire? That's the way I look at it. This is my business. I want to do whatever I want to do with it.
Yeah.
If I want to hire all my kids to do it and they don't have zero experience, so be it.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like you gave Gerard Mayo a shot, and that was going internally. That didn't work, and so you're the New England Patriots. I believe you remain a destination that a lot of head coaches would desire. You ought to make sure that you're doing your due diligence and interviewing I'm a Vrabel fan. Like I've been from the start. I wanted Mike Vrabel, but I think you kind of owe it to yourself to at least wait on Ben Johnson. Why?
Vrabel's your guy.
Just because you haven't. Curtis pointed it out. You've hired 3 coaches in the last 30 years. Like you don't know necessarily what's out there and what might be. Mike Vrabel to me is a great pick. I love it. I think he hits the ground running and he's the guy. But I don't know if they're are they making a mistake by just jumping to Mike Vrabel because of the ties that he has to the organization?
Well, if they're doing that, they're lying again because Kraft went and told media fans that they were going to interview a lot of people. But could you just remind us what you were whispered to in Nashville on your way back when there was a coaching change possibly happening here again? Like, was there interest for Vrabel back then?
Yes. I don't want to start off by revealing things.
Well, you've talked about it on the show before. I'm not saying he said it. I'm just saying you were whispered to.
I think he suggested that I'll say it in a way that might not get me in trouble with him when we do Mondays with Mike. He wanted to be here, Curtis, because he liked this destination because of the money that the ownership had.
Right.
Am I right
there was
about
a
that?
certain player we were discussing, and he said, well, if the Patriots want him, they may have more resources to get it done.
Correct. And more resources than
clearly,
I had.
Mike Vrabel hasn't been doing his research because Curtis put up a graphic yesterday about how this team doesn't spend no money. Right. So, yeah, they might have money, Mike, but guess what? They very tight when it comes to their wallets, whereas in Vegas with Brady, we already know Brady is a super competitor, so he's not going to want a losing product out there. He might be willing to spend the money to go out and get those guys and tell Mike, hey, listen, you come here, we're going to open up our checkbook. We're going to go out and get the best players. We'll do everything in our power to help you be successful. And, Mike, guess what? You and me will be basically what you see with Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch will be tied at the hip, and our owner will leave us alone. Where if you go to New England, you're going to maybe have to work with somebody you don't have a great relationship with, and ownership is going to want some input into what's going on and how much money's being spent. So if you're Vrabel, I asked the room this question. If you are Mike Vrabel, knowing all this, knowing how much it costs to live in Vegas versus how much it costs to live in Massachusetts, you take that all into consideration, where would you go?
I would go where Drake May is.
I would go wherever Tom is. Not
Yeah,
a surprise.
I'd go
You
with
would?
Tom.
I mean, not really, but yes.
I mean,
Here's the thing that
see where like the Vegas part of it, like what it costs to live there.
Ugh, I would never want to live there, though.
What the weather is, like what all those things.
Part of it. If they're willing to give him $10 million,
it's not a part of it.
And New England's only willing to give him
It's
$6
not a
million.
part of it. I don't think Mike Vrabel cares about that in the least.
Yeah, I mean, I've never
All right.
been to Vegas. I don't know anything about it, but I think Wiggy is hitting on something that's important, and that is the Krafts walk around believing that the fan base is incredibly grateful for the 6 championships. But today, on January 8th, 2025, if you asked a Patriots fan, they would say it's Bill, Tom, in whatever order, and that's it. Like, the fan base no longer believes the Krafts are the reason they won. They view them as the reason the winning stopped. And so that disconnect doesn't exist with the Celtics and Wick and his fan base. It exists with this ownership and the Patriots fans for the biggest time since they purchased the team. And I don't think they act or feel or understand just how deep that feeling is. Like, I don't know if they accept it. Because we kept saying, right, Greg, every offseason, Wiggy, Ken, Courtney, we'd all say they need to spend, right? Like, they lost Bill Belichick. Kraft has to spend to make it seem, even if it wasn't, that it was Bill not spending. And they haven't spent year after year after year. They didn't invest around Gerard Mayo, a guy Robert Kraft would have you believe is his 6th son. So why do we believe all of a sudden they're going to invest?
And let me ask
Well, the only reason that I believe it is because I feel like Mike Vrabel, and I don't feel the same way about Ben Johnson or anybody else. Mike Vrabel has the leverage. Like Mike Vrabel, he now has, he had the leverage of the Jets being interested, and you don't want him coaching in your division, I guess, if you're Robert Kraft. Now he has the leverage of Tom Brady and his relationship there and that job opening. So he can say, listen, I'm not doing this unless you agree, A, I get my guy as the GM, and B, you commit to spending legitimate money.
Yeah. And who's more likely to do that? The Vegas owner with Brady or the Krafts?
I think the Krafts have to. They have no choice.
They haven't. They didn't do it with the greatest quarterback and coach.
But they didn't have to do it when they had Tom
Okay,
Brady.
But why didn't they do it last offseason?
Right.
Why didn't they spend?
There's no explanation. There's no excuse and no explanation.
So
for
that's
that.
that's all I'm saying. You may be right, Greg. They may spend, and I might be wrong or whatever. But if we're judging them based on how they
didn't have
owned,
Drake May going into last season, they didn't have Drake May, so they didn't have what everybody thinks is a franchise transitional franchise quarterback. So I mean,
are they going to pay Mike Vrabel $10+ million a year?
They're going to have to.
I didn't ask if they were going to have to.
Why do you think
believe they are?
Why do you think they got what you call these 2 sham interviews
Right.
out of the way yesterday?
Right.
Before the ink was dry, before Gerard Mayo cleaned out his office, if they're not going to hire Mike Vrabel and give him what he wants.
So then my thing is this, then Friday.
Because otherwise you wait. You wait till you can interview Ben Johnson.
Right, so that's my point. So Friday morning, the New England, there should be news breaking Friday morning that the Patriots are going to hire Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, it should be, I would think, Friday morning, yes.
Because I wouldn't even let Vegas in.
Have they interviewed enough people, though, for what Robert Kraft told everybody they were going to do to actually do it? Like, is 3 people enough?
But do we believe that?
It'll be 4 people.
But that's the issue, though. When Robert Kraft needs to stop saying things if he's not going to follow through, because I think he's lost a lot of trust when it comes to the fans. So if he's going to go in front of the media and say, we're going to interview a lot of people.
We're doing a nationwide search.
He should be following through with that.